My friends, let me begin today with one of the simplest yet most astonishing truths I ever discovered. Your life doesn't change in a day, but it absolutely can change in a decision. Now that's powerful, because it means you don't have to wait for the seasons to shift, or for the economy to get better, or for the stars to line up before you begin the journey to a better life. All you need is one clear moment when you say, that's it, today I start. Most people spend their lives waiting for motivation, waiting for clarity, waiting for courage. But life doesn't hand out transformation to those who wait. It hands it out to those who start. And the beginning, my friends, is always small. The beginning is always simple. The beginning is always within reach. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And failure, a few errors in judgment repeated over time. So today, we're going to talk about 3 habits, 3 small hinges that can swing open the big doors of your future. These habits don't require special talent, a new degree, or even a perfect plan. They require only your willingness to begin. Just a willingness to say, let me test this, let me try this, let me change my direction today. Because here's the astonishing thing. If you change your direction by just a few degrees, and you keep walking, you'll end up in a completely different place. You don't need a revolution today. What you need is a shift in thinking, a shift in priorities, a shift in daily disciplines. And don't miss this, habits are the way you cast a vote for the person you intend to become. When you begin a small discipline today, you are signaling to your future, get ready. Someone new is on the way. You see, the moment you begin walking towards your best self, your life begins to reorganize around that intention. Doors start to open, opportunities start to appear, and clarity begins to grow. Why? Because progress attracts possibilities. So, as we begin this journey together, remember this truth. You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. And that, my friends, is the miracle of starting today. Now let's get to work. Let me show you the first habit that can change everything. My friends, before we talk about building a better life, we have to be honest about why most people never do. And it isn't because they aren't smart enough, or talented enough, or capable enough. No, the real enemy is much quieter, much friendlier, almost polite. It's called delay. Delay is the thief that doesn't break down the door. No, it whispers gently, tomorrow. Tomorrow you'll start the new routine. Tomorrow you'll change your habits. Tomorrow you'll get serious. And most people never notice that tomorrow has stolen more dreams than failure ever has. See, failure is at least visible. You can point at it. You can learn from it. But delay is invisible. You don't feel the loss until years have slipped by. And then one day you look back and say, my goodness, where did the time go? Let me give you something to remember. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. Tons, my friends. And people carry that weight all the way to the end of their lives, all because of this one little habit called delay. Most people don't drift into failure because of one big mistake. No failure comes from a few small errors in judgment repeated every day. And one of those errors is believing that time will wait for you. It won't. Time is impartial. It gives the same 24 hours to the rich and the poor, the wise and the foolish, the disciplined and the undisciplined. And here's what makes delay so dangerous. You don't feel it today. You don't feel it tomorrow. You only feel it when it's too late. People say one more day won't hurt. But that's how you lose 10 years. 10 years of almost starting. 10 years of nearly changing. 10 years of intending to live differently, but never quite getting around to it. I discovered something important. Life does not respond to intentions. It responds to action. Not what you meant to do, not what you hope to do, but what you actually do. So if we want to change our lives, and I believe everyone listening to me today does, then we must break free from the illusion of someday. Someday is a trick. Someday is a trap. Someday is where dreams go to die. But today, today is powerful. Today is opportunity in its purest form. Today is the only place where change is possible, discipline is practiced, and habits are born. So let me give you a promise. When you start today, your future begins to rearrange itself immediately. People think it takes years to earn momentum, but momentum is earned in a single step. The first disciplined act, the first intentional habit, the first courageous choice. And that's why the habits we'll talk about next are so important, not because they're complicated, not because they're dramatic, but because they give you the chance to break free from delay and begin the life you've always wanted. Now that we understand the enemy, let's talk about the weapon that defeats it. The first habit, the habit that gives you direction, clarity, and control. My friends, the first habit that will begin to transform your life is wonderfully simple. So simple that most people underestimate its power. The habit is this: plan tomorrow before it begins. Not in the morning when the world comes knocking, not halfway through the day when you're already behind, but the night before when your mind is calm and your judgment is clear. One of the greatest lessons I ever learned came from a mentor who told me, Jim, never start your day until you've finished it on paper. And I thought to myself, finished it on paper? How do you finish something you haven't started? He said, you design it, Jim. You build it in advance. If you don't run the day will run you. And believe me, that's true. Most people wake up and immediately fall into reaction, reacting to messages, reacting to problems, reacting to noise. They spend the first hours of their morning responding to the world instead of directing it. And that's how a person loses their day before breakfast. But when you sit down the night before, take out a notebook, a simple one will do, and you write down your top 3 to 5 priorities for tomorrow, something remarkable begins to happen. You are telling your mind, this is where we're going, this is what matters, this is the mission. And while you sleep, your subconscious begins to prepare, organize, and align your energy for the next day. Now, I want you to think about this. The average person spends more time planning a weekend trip than they spend planning their entire week. They'll map out the route, pack their bags, pick the restaurants, check the weather, choose the outfit, yet when Monday comes, they walk into it with no plan at all. And then they wonder why life feels chaotic, confusing, or overwhelming. The human mind loves order. It performs better when it knows what to do next. And planning is how you create that order. It sharpens your axe before cutting the tree. It's a small preparation that multiplies results. Let me illustrate it this way. Imagine 2 people starting the same journey. One wakes up with a written plan, a map, a destination. The other wakes up and just starts walking, hoping the path will reveal itself. After one day, the difference is noticeable. After 1 week, the difference is dramatic. After 1 year, the difference is astonishing. And here's the beautiful thing. Planning doesn't take 2 hours. It takes 10 minutes. 10 minutes of quiet thought. 10 minutes of deciding instead of drifting. 10 minutes that can save you 10 hours of confusion tomorrow. This habit gives you clarity. It gives you confidence. It gives you momentum. And momentum, my friends, is priceless. Momentum means you start your day not searching for direction, but executing with purpose. And let me tell you one more thing. People will start respecting your time. When you start respecting your time, a written plan signals seriousness first to yourself, then to the world. So tonight, when the day winds down and the house gets quiet, take a moment to write your plan. Tell your mind where tomorrow is headed. Whisper to your future. Get ready, because tomorrow we win. Now that we've built the foundation of clarity, let's talk about the next habit, the one that builds courage, confidence, and strength. My friends, once you've planned your day, the next question becomes, how do I make sure this plan turns into real progress? And the answer is wrapped inside one of the greatest productivity secrets I ever learned. Ready? Do the hardest thing first. Not second, not third, not once I warm up. No, first, as early as possible, before your excuses wake up and start negotiating with you. Now, some people call this eating the frog. And I'll tell you, if you have to eat a frog, the best time is first thing in the morning. Don't stare at it. Don't circle around it. Don't take pictures of it. Just get it done. Because the longer you wait, the bigger that frog seems to get. And isn't that how life works? A difficult phone call you avoid becomes heavier by the hour. A project you postpone becomes larger in your imagination. A task you fear grows into a mountain simply because you refuse to look at it. Procrastination feeds fear, and fear feeds failure. But courage feeds momentum, and momentum feeds success. Let me give you a truth I started telling myself years ago. If something is important and uncomfortable, it probably belongs at the top of the list. Why? Because meaningful things are rarely easy, and easy things are rarely meaningful. Most people begin their day with warm-up tasks. They check a few emails, clean a corner of the desk, respond to some messages, shuffle some papers, busy work. It feels productive, but it isn't. It's avoidance wearing productivity's clothing. And every time you avoid discomfort, you strengthen the habit of procrastination. But every time you face it, especially early, you strengthen the habit of discipline. When you tackle the hardest task first, something remarkable happens inside you. You begin to walk differently, think differently. You move through the day with a sense of victory because the toughest battle has already been won. I used to say, discipline is the foundation upon which all success is built. Lack of discipline inevitably leads to failure. And this one habit, doing the hardest thing first, is one of the purest forms of discipline you'll ever practice. Let me give you a picture. Imagine starting your day with a heavy weight on your shoulders. If you carry it all day, you walk slower, think slower, decide slower. But if you lift that weight first thing in the morning, you'll spend the rest of the day lighter, stronger, and more confident. Early victory creates emotional momentum. Momentum carries you through the rest of the day with speed and clarity. You begin to say to yourself, if I can handle that, I can handle anything. And that kind of self-talk is priceless. Because confidence isn't built in grand gestures, it's built in daily courage, quiet courage. When nobody's applauding, when no one is watching, when it's just you, your plan, and your willingness to follow through. So tomorrow morning, look at your list, look at that item you've been avoiding, and say, this is where I earn my growth today. Face it early, face it boldly, and watch how your life begins to transform. Now that we've talked about discipline, let's move on to the heart of transformation, the habit that builds self-respect, identity, and true inner power. My friends, if you want to change your life in the deepest, most lasting way, let me give you a habit that reaches right down into the foundation of your character. It's not complicated. It doesn't require brilliance or talent or perfect circumstances. It simply requires honesty and a little courage. The habit is this. Keep one promise to yourself every single day. That's it. One promise, one commitment, one act of personal integrity. You see, most people keep promises to others because they fear embarrassment or disapproval. But very few keep promises to themselves, and that's where greatness is lost. Because the most important person to keep your word to is you. Every time you tell yourself you'll wake up at 6 and you hit the snooze button until 7, a tiny piece of your confidence erodes. Not enough for you to feel it today, not enough for anyone else to notice. But over weeks and months, you begin to doubt your own word. And when you doubt your own word, everything in life becomes harder. But every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small you stack a brick in the foundation of your self-respect, you begin to say, when I say it, I mean it. And that, my friends, is where personal power begins. You don't start with huge promises. That's where most people go wrong. They overcommit, underdeliver, and then wonder why they feel defeated. No, you start small. A 10-minute walk, 10 pages of reading, a glass of water when you wake up, 1 page in your journal, a single task completed without delay. These are simple acts, but don't underestimate their power. Small disciplines repeated consistently create large changes in identity. You begin to build the internal proof that you are dependable, and once you see yourself as dependable, discipline becomes natural. This, I believe, is one of the greatest transformations a human being can experience, when your actions begin to validate your own worth. Not the world's applause, not someone else's approval. Your own actions, your own consistency, your own word. Let me give you a helpful idea. Confidence is not something you shout. It's something you accumulate. And you accumulate it every time you do what you told yourself you would do. Think of each kept promise like a vote. A vote for the person you want to become. You say, I am disciplined. You say, I am responsible. You say, I follow through. And with every day you practice this, those statements stop being hopes and start being truths. And here's something remarkable. Once you trust yourself, the world begins to trust you too. Because people can sense when your actions and your identity are aligned. They can feel the steadiness of your character. They can see the quiet confidence that comes from self-respect. So make this habit a daily ritual. Keep one promise to yourself. One. Not 20, not 10, just one. If you do more, wonderful. But never miss the one. Because the moment you can rely on yourself, everything in your life begins to expand. Your discipline, your goals, your courage, your vision. And soon you'll discover that the hardest person you ever had to lead was yourself. But once you master that, the rest of your life becomes a glorious unfolding of opportunity. Now, my friends, we've covered clarity, discipline, and self-respect. But transformation doesn't happen from habits alone. It also requires understanding how those habits reshape your mind, your identity, and your future. My friends, now that we've talked about planning, discipline, and the power of keeping promises to yourself, let's step back and look at something even more profound. Let's talk about why these habits work. Why do 3 simple daily disciplines have the power to change your entire life? The reason is this: habits don't just change what you do, they change who you believe you are. And that, my friends, is the real engine of transformation. You see, most people try to change their life by focusing on results. They say, I want more money, I want better health, I want a better career. Nothing wrong with that. It's good to want those things. But wanting better results without changing your behaviors is like wanting a harvest without planting the seeds. And here's the deeper truth. Changing your behavior without changing your identity doesn't last either. You might force yourself into a routine for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, but if your identity doesn't rise to match your actions, you always return to old habits. That's why these simple daily disciplines are so powerful. Every time you plan your day, every time you do the hardest thing first, every time you keep a promise to yourself, you are sending a message to your subconscious. This is who I am now. Not someday, not maybe, but now. And your identity begins to shift from procrastinator to planner, from avoider to doer, from self-doubter to self-leader. Let me give you a Jim Rohn principle that changed my life. Success is something you attract by the person you become, not by luck, not by chance, not by shortcuts, by who you become. And how do you become someone new? Not by waiting for inspiration, not by wishing for transformation, but by raising your standards. Your standards are the invisible rules you set for yourself, what you tolerate, what you accept, what you demand of your own behavior. If you want a better life, raise your standards. If you want better results, demand more from yourself. If you want different outcomes, adopt different habits. But here's the wonderful part. Once you begin raising your standards, something magical happens: momentum. Momentum is that feeling of movement, energy, and confidence that grows from consistent action. It's the wind at your back. It's the sense that life is working with you, not against you. And momentum doesn't come from perfection. It comes from progress. Even small progress, tiny victories, little wins. That's why I say discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Every act of discipline adds another plank to that bridge. Every small habit strengthens it. Every day you follow through, the bridge becomes harder to break. And soon, you stop struggling to stay consistent, not because life gets easier, but because you become stronger. Your identity upgrades, your standards rise, your actions align, and your momentum builds. This is the psychology of transformation, not motivation, not hype, not positive thinking alone, but identity shifting through daily disciplines. And once you understand this, the path becomes clear. If you want a different future, build it through the habits that define your character. If you want a different destiny, forge it through the standards you choose to live by. And if you want a different life, earn it by becoming a different you. Now that we understand how these habits transform who you are, let's talk about how to begin. Not next month, not next year, today. And we'll do it with a simple, unbreakable plan anyone can follow. My friends, once you understand the power of habits, the next question is always the same. Jim, how do I begin? What's the first step? And I love that question because the first step is the easiest one to take and the most powerful one to choose. You begin today. Not when life calms down. Not when you feel ready. Not when the conditions are perfect, because they never will be. You begin today with a simple, unbreakable 7-day plan that anyone can follow. Not complicated, not overwhelming, just 7 days of small, intentional action to build momentum. Because remember, once you build momentum, life starts helping you along. Let me walk you through it. Day 1. Plan tomorrow tonight. Tonight, before you sleep, take out a piece of paper and write down your top 3 priorities for tomorrow. Decide what matters most, not what's easiest. This one act will shift your mind from drifting to directing. If you do nothing else but this, your next day will already be better than most people's week. Day 2, do the hardest thing first. On this day, circle the task that makes you uncomfortable, the one you've been avoiding, and do it before anything else. When you win that battle early, you walk with confidence for the rest of the day. This builds the muscle of courage. Day 3, keep one promise to yourself. Choose a simple promise. Drink a glass of water in the morning, read 10 pages, go for a short walk, and do it no matter what. The goal is not the size of the action. It's the integrity of keeping your word. This begins the transformation of identity. Day 4, combine all 3 habits. Now we stack. Plan your day. Do the hard thing first. Keep one promise to yourself. This combination creates alignment, your mind, your actions, and your character all moving in the same direction. This is where momentum begins to grow. Day 5, improve execution by 1%. Don't attempt a revolution, just refine. Wake up 10 minutes earlier. Add 1 extra page to your reading. Spend 2 more minutes on the difficult task. Progress, not perfection. A 1% daily improvement compounds into transformation. Day 6, review your wins and lessons. Sit down in the evening and reflect. What worked well this week? What challenged you? Where did you lose focus? Where did you grow? Reflection is how you turn experience into wisdom. A day unexamined is a day of potential left unused. Day 7, acknowledge who you are becoming. This day is not about tasks, it's about identity. Look back at your week and notice the small changes. Notice the discipline. Notice the commitment. Notice the difference in how you think about yourself. Because transformation begins the moment you see yourself differently. Tell yourself, this is the first week of the rest of my new life. And here's the best part, my friends. You can repeat this 7-day plan again next week and the week after and the week after that. Before you know it, your habits will become your nature. Your discipline will become your strength. And your momentum will become your new lifestyle. You don't need a year to change your life. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need 7 days of sincere effort. 7 days of discipline. 7 days of becoming just a little bit better than you were before. Do this. And I promise you, in 7 days, you will feel the shift. In 7 weeks, you will see the shift. In 7 months, others will see the shift. And in 7 years, you won't even recognize the person you've become. Now that you know how to begin, let's look ahead toward the future these habits will create. A future designed by your choices, shaped by your standards, and driven by your purpose. My friends, now that you know how to begin, let's take a moment to look down the road at the future you're building. Because make no mistake, every habit, every discipline, every decision is constructing something. The question isn't whether you're building a future. The question is which future you're building. And here's the great news. Your future isn't written in the stars or carved in stone. It's written in your daily actions, carved by your daily choices, and guided by your daily direction. I discovered something years ago that changed my life. Your future is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. A matter of decisions. A matter of habits. A matter of standards. And the beautiful thing about choice is that you get to make it again tomorrow and every day after that. Let's talk about what the future looks like when you practice these 3 habits. A future with clarity. When you plan your days, you begin to live with purpose instead of confusion. Confusion drains you. Purpose energizes you. Most people wander through life like travelers, without a map, always moving, rarely arriving. But you, my friends, are becoming someone different. Someone who wakes up knowing where the road leads. Someone who chooses direction over distraction. A clear life is a powerful life. A future with strength. When you do the hardest thing first, you build courage. You build resilience. You build inner toughness. Life doesn't get easier, you get stronger. And when you approach challenges with strength, opportunities start to open. People respond differently to you. Doors you once feared begin to look inviting instead of intimidating. A strong life is a confident life. A future with integrity. When you keep promises to yourself, you elevate your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who can be trusted by others. Yes, but more importantly, by yourself. And let me tell you something profound. A person who trusts themselves becomes unstoppable. Not arrogant, not loud, just quietly, consistently unstoppable. Integrity builds influence, and influence builds opportunity. An aligned life is a powerful life, a future with momentum. Once you start practicing these habits, something wonderful begins to happen. Momentum. Momentum is like gravity on your side. It pulls you forward. It lifts you higher. It carries you past obstacles that once stopped you. Momentum turns discipline into desire, effort into routine, routine into identity. And one day, you'll realize you're no longer pushing yourself uphill because momentum is pulling you forward. A life with momentum is a growing life, a future with purpose. Everything changes when you know why you're doing it. Purpose gives meaning to the effort, color to the struggle, and energy to the discipline. When you know your why, a late night becomes bearable. An early morning becomes meaningful. A challenge becomes a stepping stone. A setback becomes a lesson. Purpose doesn't remove difficulty, but it redeems it. A purposeful life is a fulfilled life. A future you designed. Picture it. You wake up with clarity. You begin with courage. You walk with confidence. You act with integrity. You move with momentum. And you live with purpose. That's not a fantasy. That's not luck. That's not inheritance. That's habit. That's discipline. That's choice. That's you. The you that emerges when you commit to 3 simple practices repeated daily. And here's the wonderful thing. The world begins to respond differently to a person who lives with direction. Opportunities notice you. People trust you. Circumstances bend in your favor. You stop chasing success because success begins to follow you. My friends, this is the future you are building. A future sculpted by your own hands, guided by your own standards, and fueled by your own discipline. Now let's bring this all together. Let's close our journey with a final thought, a conclusion that carries the weight of everything we've learned and everything you are becoming. My friends, as we come to the end of our time together, let me leave you with a thought that has guided me for many years. Life is designed to respond to those who take responsibility for their time, their habits, their character, and their future. We've talked about 3 simple habits today. Not complicated, not expensive, not reserved for the gifted or the lucky, just simple disciplines that anyone can begin today. Plan tomorrow before it begins. Do the hardest thing first. Keep one promise to yourself every single day. These habits will not just make you productive, they will make you powerful. They will not just organize your schedule, they will transform your character. They will not just help you get more done, they will help you become someone new. Because remember, success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become. And becoming that person isn't a dramatic event. It's not a burst of inspiration. It's not a once-in-a-lifetime moment. It's daily. It's consistent. It's intentional. It's choosing to direct your life instead of drifting through it. It's deciding that discipline is lighter than regret. It's realizing that your habits are the architects of your future. If you begin these 3 habits today, I promise you your life will begin to shift. First quietly, then noticeably, then dramatically. One day you'll look in the mirror and say, something is different about me. And you'll be right. Something is different. You've become a person who leads themselves. And that is one of the greatest accomplishments in life. And here's the final invitation, my friends. Don't wait for a better day. Make today the day that everything changes. You don't need perfection. You just need a decision. A decision to begin. A decision to grow. A decision to honor your potential. Tell yourself tonight, tomorrow I rise with intention. Tomorrow I lead with discipline. Tomorrow I follow through. Tomorrow I win. And if you repeat that daily, tomorrow becomes your ally. Discipline becomes your friend. Momentum becomes your partner. And success becomes inevitable. My friends, start today. Your future is waiting for the person you are ready to become.